Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
So, I had this epiphany this morning about something when I was journaling and reading. I'm reading a wonderful book about surrender. And what I have come to learn, what I've come to realize, what I've experienced in my own life, what I've experienced with clients when they choose this, is that, let's first start this as a premise, okay? We are all creators of our life, and in this world, we are creators. And I don't mean that you necessarily create a thing, a widget, like a businessy thing, a piece of art, it can be that, but we are all creators, meaning that we create our life. We are designed to, we are all creative people. We are all designed to create. We are all creators. Let's just say the confusion, the misunderstanding, that's a better word, the misunderstanding, the misnomer is that if you force something to happen, if you push it to happen, if you do the effing work, if you push yourself, if you grind, you hustle, if you obsess about it, if you are relentless like a bulldog about it, right? Which can come from a very real space, right? You're like, no, like I really want this. Like I am determined, right? I'm going to be disciplined in what is required for me to create this thing in my life. And that's a beautiful thing. However, that need, that desire, that I must have this at all costs, the stories that are created of if this doesn't happen, what that'll mean, all of that stuff repels miracles from coming into your life. What are miracles? Miracles are the coincidences that you can't explain. Miracles are the little things where you suddenly think about somebody and they call you up. Miracles are the inspiration that comes through. Miracles are like today for me. Miracle I experienced, the first one today, was this insight of, oh, wow, this really needs to be shared, because it is a simple concept and principle, and you're going to hear this at a certain, frequency for you. And then there's a real depth to this as well. And the depth is what really hit me today. And what my intention is, my hope, is that you're going to feel it at this depth. And if you don't, listen to it again, listen to it again, listen to it again. Or share it up with a good friend, and then you can have a conversation about this. So I'm sure you've experienced times in your life when you wanted something so badly. And then when you finally just kind of let go and you said, all right, if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, like you did. And you might have even let go from the sake of like, fuck it, this isn't working. Or like something just allowed you to like drop imagine that you're like riding a horse, right? And you're on the horse and you're holding the reins in your hand and you're gripping so frigging tightly. And the times that I've been on horses, which has not been for, oh my gosh, when was the last time I was on a horse? I was probably 10, 11 maybe. I rode horses for a little bit of time. But I do know that horses, like all animals, but horses are close windows here, it's a little loud. Horses are a pretty special animal. They feel you, right? Energetically, all animals really, they feel us. And so you probably, even if you've never been on a horse, you're probably aware that if you're fearful on a horse, they feel that. Right? If you relax, they feel that. And so if you tense up with reins, you can kind of like try to go, like the horse go a certain way. And, I could be completely messing up this analogy, by the way, but we're just going to keep rolling with it. Here's what I'm feeling. So imagine that horse is your life. And when you tense up with fear, when you tense up with anxiety, which by the way is real, I'm not saying you can't feel these things or you shouldn't feel angry or you shouldn't feel exhausted or shame or blame. Like these are all real things that come up. Guilt, all of it. Overwhelm. But what happens is when you are so fixated on something that you want, for whatever quote unquote like good reason, right? Like something where it's just like, maybe it's something within a business you're trying to create. You're like, man, I just have this feeling inside of me, like this is something that will really serve people. This will really help people. You know, I feel so passionate about it. I mean, this is the same thing that spurred Women Wanting More. I had no idea where this was going. I just knew there was something inside of me I was being called to speak. And here we are, over 4 years later. So the push energy, though, is very different from the alternative energy, which is receiving. Knowing that, hey, you know what? I'm really clear on like, yes, I want this particular outcome for business, for my relationship, for, with my children, for my health, something with family, a hobby, I don't know, something that you're trying to create. Because yes, you are a creator. And you're like, I have this thing that I want, and here's why. And it's like, I just really feel it in my heart. Beautiful. So the line now, and again, let me add to this. So you go, well, in order for me to get this thing or to create this in my life, then these are the actions I need to take. Beautiful. And I'm going to set a goal, which is going to have a timeline to it. And I'm going to make sure that that thing that I want is really specific. I'm able to measure it and track it. Like you have all the parts and pieces in place. It's realistic. I know the time that's required or the money that's needed to invest to get this thing, and like, it's a go, right? Like I'm really clear on what that is, and I'm clear on what the steps are, and I'm going to put in and do the work. Okay. And so here's then where it gets a little smudgy. Okay. When it then becomes an obsessive thing. Okay, when it then becomes you go into constriction and contraction every single time you think about it. You're like, I gotta fucking get this thing. I'm gonna push. And you get up in the morning and that's all you think about is that thing. And so in that contraction, in that holding on for dear life, in that holding on to the reins of the proverbial horse, which is the thing you're trying to create, the life you're trying to create, you end up getting in your own way. And you might go, well, what do you mean, Karen? That's like so confusing. Like, what do I do? Just go, universe provides, and throw my hands up in the air? No, but there's a balance of those. And only you know what that balance will be for you. Nobody can really define that for you. Let me actually take a step back from that. Yes, there are times when I've worked with my clients that it is tricky for them to really see that, right? And so I've helped them to be able to get some more clarity. But what I found is that if my beautiful clients I work with can come to realization on their own, it's far more powerful, right, than me directing. At times I have to go in and go, look, you're not seeing, so let me show you what I'm seeing. So you have the steps in place. You know what is required to get the thing that you truly want, but then it is the unattachment where the miracles pop in. It's saying that I am in my feminine, which is receiving, which is allowing things to come into my life, not forcing, not pushing, it's a very masculine energy. There's nothing wrong with it. We are masculine and feminine as women. Men are masculine and feminine as well too. There's different pieces and there's different things that need to come in different times. But for so many of us as women, we're so overtly in that masculine place that it is disturbing the natural order, really. And I'm not saying, and by the way, receiving and allowing is not passive. It's not at all. It's actually incredibly powerful to be in a place of trusting and just like, I know what's designed to happen is going to come to me. When we're in that relaxed place, again, imagine you're now on that same horse, which is your life, the thing you want to create. And you're in a flow and you're moving with that animal. It's like you're just very connected to the experience of it. The reins that you have in your hand you're holding them, but they're loose. You don't completely let go and just let the horse just go crazy, right? And kind of run off. But you're trusting in that horse. The same way you get behind the wheel of a car and you trust that the people around you are going to like follow the rules of the road, right? Are going to be conscious and aware. And we don't know, but we trust. We have to let go of that. Because if we're in the car and we're like holding on to the wheel so tight and, oh my God, what if they hit me? And you're braking and you're panicking. Like, you know that when you're in that place, like you would track that shit. There's a reason why I would see when I was in practice as a chiropractor, when people would say that they had 3 car accidents in a very short period of time. because they were so panicky about it. They were fearful. They were attracting it, right? They were just like, oh, they were so obsessive about it. Or they would just be in such a place of fear and everything. They would like oversteer or overbrake or panic about things and not be able to react in a clear, calm manner, which is when you learn how to drive a car and you get some experience behind the wheel, you relax more, right? You relax more. Now, can accidents still happen in the car? Yes. Can you still be on that horse and it goes crazy? Yes. A thing's still going to come up in life that you did not expect, that throw you a loop. And you go, wait a second, what happened to the flow? What happened to the line? What happened to the receiving? Yes, all that stuff. All of it. But in order for the miracles to pop in, because it really is like that, like popping in, you have to be in that place of receiving. You need to choose that. Choose it. You can choose receiving. You can choose to let go. It is not easy. I know it's not easy. I can hear right now going, but Karen, but I gotta... Listen, I understand we all want to control those things, especially when we're feeling life is out of control. There's this thing of like wanting to control any little piece, right? A very common theme for a lot of women and men who have eating disorders is a sense of wanting to gain control. When I was, my first degree before I became a chiropractor was in psychology, an honors BA in psychology. And so I remember studying about eating disorders. And at that time in the early 90s, there was a lot of research surfacing about women that have been through sexual abuse or some kind of, they had been molested or like just something where they felt so out of control. They were abused, horrible things. And so the eating became a way to really gain that control back, right? Like to get that control. And so we will choose, that's an extreme example, but we'll choose times to just like be controlling when we feel that our control is going to get us there. We feel that that controlling, when we don't have any other control, we're going to control it in this place, in this piece, in this experience, in this circumstance, this situation. But it is in that controlling and that forcing and that pushing, the miracles cannot show up. I'm telling you, sister. And I know you're hearing this, and there's a piece of ego that goes, no, but I want to create it, and I can make shit happen, and I've done it before. I know, I've been there too, and I've done lots of things where I was like, I'm going to make shit happen. And I remember how exhausting it was. I remember how depleted I felt. I remember how I didn't even enjoy the process. I remember, and then got to the end, and I went, oh, I did it, yay! And then it was like, oh. And I struggled and suffered along the way. Now, no regrets. No shoulda, woulda, coulda. I wish I did this differently. No, that energy is not serving. So just let that all go. Because you know what? All those experiences served. Do you see? Even me having those experiences allows me, who is now in a different place right now, and has learned these tools, and has invested in herself, and has done a hell of a lot of coaching, even as a chiropractor for 14 years, and a lot of life experiences, and a lot of pain, and a lot of shit that came up in life that allows me to pop into a place of receiving these messages every single time that I speak it to you, that allows me to be in a place of, I'm going to say it, and I say this humbly, wisdom. And now being able to share this with you. It all serves. It all serves. But the miracles come in receiving. Miracles are received. That's what we're going to call this episode. Miracles are received. They're not pushed. They're not created. They're not forced. They're not, they're not. They're received. They're allowed in. So here's your more tip for today then, sister. I want you to open up your journal and to write down something right now that you're trying to create in your life. The thing that you're trying to create that you're really pushing hard with. Okay? Whatever that is for you. Any of those different categories I mentioned or something different. Like you're pushing it. You're pushing it. You think that that's the way for it to be. And most likely you're kind of frustrated because it's not coming. Like it doesn't matter how hard you work. You keep working harder. You keep pushing more. You keep thinking it's about more information, or if I just give it more time, or let me listen to another one of Karen's podcasts and somehow I'm going to get some inspiration, like a lightning bolt will pop into me. And like you're push. And it feels very out of alignment for you. I know, because I had experienced that for a long time, thinking this was the only way to be a creator in my life. I make shit happen. So I want you to take a look at that thing that you're trying to push. And then I want you to kind of like, here's what I'm saying right now. Here's what's coming through to me. So at the top of your journal page, write down that thing that you're trying to create. Then I want you to put a line down that page. Okay, so like 2 columns, left and right column. And I want you to on the left-hand side, to write at the top of the column, write, pushing feels like. Okay, and on the right-hand side, the other column, you're going to write, receiving feels like. Okay, now, if you're in that place where, again, you've been pushing, you know what it feels like, or even go back to, maybe it's something not right now, but you can think of a time that you really pushed something and what that felt like for you. Our body is a metric here for us. Okay, now there's still going to be times that things feel shitty and we don't go, oh, I shouldn't do that because it feels shitty. No, that's not necessarily it. You'll get to kind of discern the difference. But for now, just this exercise, which is on the left, pushing feels like, and write down all the way that it shows up in your body. It makes my lower back kind of hurts. It makes my stomach feel like it's in knots. It's hard for me to breathe. I feel panicky. I get short with my husband and my children. Keeps me awake at night. Like whatever all that stuff is, you're going to write it all down. Just free flow, write it. And on the right-hand side, I want you to either think of a time when you have allowed something to happen. It could be the time where you just, again, went, threw your hands up and said, like, that's it, I give up. And you thought that it was giving up, but it actually, in that moment, it was most likely surrender. You just went like, all right, I'm done. Can't control it. It's not working. It's meant to be. It'll come to me kind of thing. Like, I get it. And then suddenly things start to pop in. Like, literally. Like, you get a text message about something. You suddenly get this email, the phone rings. Like, it can be things that are that, there's no timeline. That's like, oh, and then if I surrender long enough, and then this, no, now you're trying to control it. You're trying to push, you just went, okay, you allowed it, okay? And if you've never had that experience, because that's also possible, but there's no judgment in this. It's just what is. Don't create any stuff about it. If you've never had that experience, I want you to just simply close your eyes and imagine what it would be like. That you can see yourself doing the steps. You're still taking action. Action is a requirement. As a creator, action is a requirement. But you know what? The action isn't always what we think it is. Sometimes an action is, I'm going to take a break. Sometimes the action is, I'm going to go for a walk and clear my head. Sometimes the action is, I'm going to choose to meditate each day. So when I do sit down to do these things, I'm really productive and focused and relaxed. Action can be, I'm getting more sleep tonight because my body really feels it. And I know that's going to help me be more fresh in the morning. Do you see? So it's like whatever the actions or the specific kind of task. But I want you to close your eyes and imagine. And you can take a deep breath and just imagine, what would it be like if I allowed this in? If I was receiving. Did I say receiving or allowing? Whichever word vibes with you. Left column, pushing feels like. Right column, we'll say receiving. Receiving feels like. Receiving feels like. What would it be like to receive the miracle? What would it be like to receive this thing happening? What would it be like to imagine that it doesn't have to be a push, that there's another way, there's another possibility. There could be many other possibilities of how this thing, this experience, this situation that you're wanting to create in your life that you desire, purely desire. What would it be like if you simply allowed yourself to receive it versus trying to force it and push it? What would that be like? Close your eyes and imagine that. And just see it. Again, what does your body feel like? How does it affect different areas of your life? How do you show up for people when you're in that space versus a pushing space? And write that. It's important for us to see these things. I want you to actually do this exercise. Because when we can see stuff on paper, and literally this exercise could take you 5 or 10 minutes, but it could be profound. So you're hearing this for a reason right now. It's not to go nod your head and go, yeah, that sounds great, Karen. Woo! And then you stop the episode and you go right back into the stuff in your day, and it's just the same patterns over and over and over. This is your chance, really. This is your chance. Okay, right now, sister, here's the deal. There are 2 spots that are open for one-on-one coaching. This is by application only. This is for women, and if this is you, may or may not be, because this is not for everybody, but it may, that you've tried a lot of stuff already. Like you're like, Karen, I've been listening to the podcast for a while. Most of my clients kind of like this. I've been listening to the podcast for a while. I'm following stuff. I'm reading these books. I'm doing a lot of work. Maybe I've been through therapy or counseling. Like, I've experienced all these things, and I'm just realizing that I can't do this by myself. I really want this thing I'm trying to create. I'm just stuck. I'm realizing that I need help. Like, I'm lacking the tools and the skills and the support and the accountability and the knowing and the wisdom of how to get from where I am to where I want to be. Okay? That is the women that I coach. These are the women that connect with me, and they're like, let's go. I'm ready. I may be scared. I may not know how this is going to all come together and happen, but I'm ready because I'm done with all the other stuff. Like, it is time, right? Where there's a crisis or a crossroads, or just you've hit a wall in some way and you're like, it needs to change like now. Okay, so if this is you, this is speaking to you, to apply, here's what you need to do. Email me, drkarenosburn@gmail.com. So that's drkarenosburn@gmail.com, drkarenosburn@gmail.com. Simply say, Karen, I'd like to apply. And I will connect with you from there to let you know what the first step will be. All right, sister. I will talk to you in the next episode. A life of more really is one step away from realizing that you are able to receive the miracles every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosburn.com/newsletter.